Second time works every time. And we are back live again. And we're actually live now. Speaking to ourselves because everyone has thinned out. Oh, well. So, anyway, where were we anyway? You were saying that like you've been winding for 8 years basically, and you started in uni, was that?
Yeah. Just I just basically completely dropped out of uni to jump in at the deep end, setting up a pickup winding company, despite having zero electrical engineering background.
What made you decide to go for that then?
Well, I think what it is it to me. I'm not sure if you've had a similar experience, but like when it comes to understanding guitar parts, pedals were a bit beyond me. Amps were way beyond me. But I kind of understood how a pickup affected tone and what, like, I had like an intrinsic understanding of, because I'd been messing about with them for a few years, of like what makes one good, what makes one. Intrinsic understanding of, because I'd been messing about with them for a few years. Oh, we get some echoes. Hold on, is that what makes one good? What makes
it's not
That's
me.
That's me.
Come on, John.
No. Hey, it's because I thought we were like not live again.
And I went in.
Yeah. Like I was on the old stream. Anybody that's still on the old stream, we're over here now in the live chat. Like,
do you know what was funny is everyone was saying to me. Everyone was
there's
saying,
still people in the old stream waiting for us to go back on there.
Well,
in the live chat. So
I'm just about to add it to the stories on Instagram. But yeah, let's just keep going anyway because people will do this after the fact anyway. So what pickup brand was it that made you think, do you know what, I could do that?
I mean, it was bare knuckle. It wasn't like, oh, I could do that. Like I could easily knock out what they were doing or anything. But I just something about the fact that it was UK made and it was relatively. It seemed like relatively low volume, but really like they had a lot of notoriety. They'd managed to make something out of doing the pickup thing. And there was something about their branding as well that spoke to me. You know, like just the way that they would describe how something was gonna affect your guitar tone, and then when I bought one of their pickups, like it bore out. Because I always find when you're listening to demos of things, be it on YouTube or on like official websites, it's like you get a vague idea of what something might sound like, but then through your rig in your room with your guitar, it might sound completely different
every time.
So
yeah.
So I don't know, there was something about the way that they tried to like actually put into words what the aim of the pickup would be, and then I would buy it based on that, and then I would find that like more often than not it was broadly accurate.
When was the first time you became aware of bare knuckle pickups?
I was I would have been about 14, 15, so about 2008.
Yeah.
2009.
That's about the same time I became aware of them, because a customer of mine brought me one of the many guitars because he had guitar acquisition syndrome like crazy. And he said, I need you to swap these pickups out for these. And they were bare knuckle pickups. I'd never heard of them before. And when I opened the box and like I said, or like you said, read like everything, and I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. And then when I installed them and heard it, I was like, this guy's onto something.
Oh man, he just got the branding right, like that iconic boxing sort of with his top off and the waist thing. It just looks so cool. And
I mean, come on. I still have the Valitudo challenge out for all of them. All of them.
It's not just that.
Any of you want. Come on, Jeff.
Tim Mills is like he's like got the long hair. He's quite athletic. He's covered in tats. He just looks cool himself. You know what I mean? It's just mad. It's whole, and he's down in Cornwall as well, which is a beautiful part of the country. We got Kaizen Effects.
Hey,
hello, mate. How's it going? All right, everyone's made it over. Apologies for that. I was just saying, although you couldn't hear me because unless you were on Instagram, of course, I was just saying that I was here early and I had no technical difficulties. But I managed to measure. Oh well. There you go. It wouldn't be a show if I didn't mess it up.
Hey, you didn't mess it up. Somebody else did.
No, I deleted the stream by mistake there while I was setting up, didn't I? Let's face it.
Oh, come on.
There's no point in passing the buck.
The ship's still afloat. We're all okay.
What pickups was it from Bare Knuckle that you went for? Because I remember buying a set of their PAFs and P90s probably. I don't know. It must have been.
Yeah, I remember. I do actually. The very first set I got, and this speaks to how awkward I am as well. Is like I wouldn't just buy a set. I got I think they called it an Abraxas bridge and an emerald neck.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mix and matched. Even though I now know that that's probably not the best idea, but
yeah, I mean, I haven't bought a set of Bare Knuckle pickups for years because I found Monty's, I found some Bear pickups. Stu's amazing. There's a few other builders that are just floated my boat. But for my Les Paul, I bought a set of mules just because I hadn't had them for ages. Yeah. I spec'd them all out, and when I put them in the guitar, I was just like, my lord, these really do sound good still. You just forget, don't you? I'd be interested to know in the chat, has anyone else bought Bare Knuckle pickups recently and used their pickup builder? Crazy Fandango says, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Thank you very much. And remember, wet the tip. Get in.
Most importantly.
Yeah, most importantly. Speaking of wet the tip, the t-shirts are doing so well. I think I've sold like 5. It's fantastic. Well, it's more than any other t-shirts I've sold. These are my favorite ones, the Kossoff drive, but no one's interested in Paul Kossoff apart from me.
Well, send me one, I'll wear it.
Oh, mate, it's from your neck of the woods.
Exactly.
There's a company over there. Then
that's mental. It's like I'm ordering things from England to be shipped over here, and you're ordering things from over here to be shipped over there.
Yeah,
it's like,
mate. Well, I use a company that
it's almost like it's almost like we have like a commercial relationship or something.
Well, not anymore.
Allegedly.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Allegedly.
Do you know how much the customs charges on that package you just sent me, John?
Well, I told you, I showed you the screenshot of what they told me what it could be.
£120.
Well, that's way better than £4,000.
Yeah.
That's what they told me it could be. They told me it could be £4,000 for me to ship Joe a gift.
That's mad.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it depends what you put in a package, I suppose.
I guess. I mean,
Well, it's gone mad.
The world's upside down.
Crazy Fandango said, and after today, he's going to buy a set of Alchemy pickups. Get in.
Mm-hmm.
So to that, in fact, this is an interesting case study. I wanted to play a little game, but we'll do that later on. But let me, mate, I've got such a good game. It's going to be fun. But before we do that, if I was to give you, or someone wanted to buy a set of pickups from you, and they phoned up, say they call you up or send you a message, what sort of questions are you asking them to figure out what pickups best fit them? Because I know I can only speak for pedals, but 9 times out of 10, what people think they want, unless they're really accomplished, isn't really what they want. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying. I think sometimes people want to try something different, and sometimes they'll stray too far into too different, because maybe the thing that they've got that's designed for what they actually are going to be, usually I would ask them what they're going to be playing, and it's sometimes helpful for them to give me like specific examples of, I like this band, I like the tone that this guy gets on this song or whatever, and also just what guitar have you got, because it's like if you've got a Les Paul and you want a really bright sound, then
is it me or is the audio cut out?
The audio cut out.
Oh, mate, your audio is just cut out. Oh, no, you're back again now, mate. You're back. It was just as you were getting to the value, it just went. You're back again.
Right, okay.
You said Les Paul.
As soon as you come back, all I heard was, and that's the most important thing in the world that you ever.
It's just like I guess I'd need to know what genre of music they're going to play and which guitar they're going in, more than anything else. And
I'm going to use Craze Fandango as a as like a case study, if you like. And he's going to hate this because I'm going to get all of his pieces wrong. But I know that I'm short and fat, but he's about 18 foot tall with massive hands. So he likes a longer scale body, like a Strat for some reason. Whoever likes Strats, I don't know. So he's a Strat player.
This guy,
coils.
This guy,
yeah.
this guy,
Hey,
this guy.
If you're short and fat, a Strat is no good. But anyway, and he likes a lot of treble in the sound, more treble than you would imagine someone would like. So a Strat bridge pickup, no problem. He likes pinched harmonics, so he does a lot of pinched harmonics, and he plays quite a bit of like 70s rock with the fast lead lines and a bit of higher gain. Is that about right, Mr. Craze Fandango?
I can't speak for him. He can speak for himself on that one.
Yeah, but that's
I like Strats.
Describe.
That's
how would you
Actually, I like guitars. If it's a guitar and it plays well, it sounds good, I like it.
I think
me.
What you said about the pinch harmonics suggests to me that something slightly higher output might be, because initially, thinking really bright tone, really twinkly, I'd be thinking something lower output, low inductance, get like a really high on the on like loads more treble through on the EQ. But they can sometimes be a little bit weedy when it comes to like low end presence. That you need that for like the tightness and the pinch harmonics if you're going to be playing that kind of thing.
No, really recently, I just discovered on my Chibson. I just bought a Chibson, and it had been upgraded with some like aftermarket pickups, and I cannot find them on the website of the manufacturer. I want to say it's Guitar Fetish made them.
Oh yeah,
they're Guitar Fetish pickups. They have this like kind of gray chrome finish on them. I can't find them anywhere, but when I pinch them, they do things that I was just like, whoa.
So is that down to the inductance then, or is that more like more wire maybe, or
it's a mix of things. I would say like
I'm wondering if it could be microphonics too, like whether or not it's like
something's potted. A bit more live. It's like
that.
So
I've had the same response on guitars that I knew were unpotted.
Yeah, so like for a humbucker, for example, if you've got particularly asymmetric coils, then it'll let more natural harmonics through. I think a lot of what you're getting when you get really nice, like meaty pinch harmonics, you're going to get a lot of it from the amp and from the gain. So what you want from the pickups really is to be able to handle that gain and keep everything tight. So obviously you're not going to pinch harmonic into a clean amplifier anyway. So
no,
it may be that.
Actually, he's got a high watt, so.
Maybe.
but I know he likes a lot. He does like a pedaler too, so he's getting a lot of gain and a lot of volume, and also
you're gonna have to get the saturation is important, I think, for that. So I would say a pickup that can handle that, the higher gain, a lot of tube saturation without losing definition, and quite often some of the ones that have got like more high end presence, they sound really like buzzy and also flubby on the low end when you put all that gain through them. So they would probably be really good for pinch harmonics, but the pinch harmonic itself wouldn't sound that great, and everything around it also probably wouldn't sound that great.
So what are the pickups that you do? Which ones would you be steering them towards,
I think
as a base?
I think the Quicksilver, which is it's an Alnico 4. It's an overwound set. It's overwound using slightly thinner magnets so that the output goes up, but the inductance doesn't so much. So you've still got the inductance in the sort of median kind of range around the 4 or 5. So there's still plenty of treble presence, but because of the output and the I really charge up those Alnico 4 rod magnets. There's a lot of string pull and a lot of presence and like note to note string separation. So it's good for me. They're too bright. So that's one of the things as well is when I'm playing a Strat, I like to tame the high end a bit. So I usually know that if someone's got a Strat and they want it to be bright, I'll suggest them one of the pickups that I wouldn't use myself.
Okay.
Which is that set. They're just too raunchy for me. It's too much.
So that's interesting because I gravitate towards either Alnico 4 mainly for bridge pickups, but or Alnico 2 for the neck pickup. I know that's cliche as you like, and I'm a humbucker guy, but I never really understood what the different Alnico strengths or types mean to the sound. It's just that's through trial and error. That's what I've landed on. So why Alnico 4 for this?
In all honesty, initially they were Alnico 5, and I just found them too harsh. They were a little bit too scooped in the mids, and they just had a little bit too much high end presence. And the Alnico 4, Alnico 4 is like a sort of flawed Alnico 5. It's like an Alnico 5 that's trying to be an Alnico 5, but isn't quite there. And that can really work in some pickup designs, I've found. So
that's interesting. Because maybe the scoop mids thing is why I don't get on with 5 for the bridge. Like, I mean, that's like the standard answer, isn't it? Alnico 5 for your bridge pickup. Well, as a humbucker anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm also I like started on Les Pauls and stuff, so I come from the humbucker world. And what I've found increasingly is that I like an Alnico 2 in the bridge because it warms it up, and then I like an Alnico 3 or 4 in the neck because you get all that warmth just from where the pickup sat and from the fact that it's a humbucker. But you get just more clarity in the treble. It doesn't make it sound trebly, but it makes it sound more clear. So at the minute, my set that I like the most of what I build is my Evocation 2 set, which is like it's one of your classic kind of late 50s reimaginings of a Gibson Path, but it's Alnico 2 bridge, Alnico 3 neck, and I've sort of designed it for semi-hollows, but with that in mind. So they're a little bit less pokey than my other PAF, which is an Alnico 4 bridge and an Alnico 2 neck for like classic rock and great in a Les Paul, I think. Yeah, sort of thing that you'd go for.
It's definitely, it's so interesting that just something as simple as swapping out that magnet can make so much difference.
Yeah, I mean,
so here's something that I want to ask: like, what kind of difference have you seen between using slugs for your pole pieces and putting them in contact with a magnet, as opposed to having magnetized pole pieces?
Well, to be fair, I've never tried having magnetized pole pieces in a humbucker, but I think,
I mean,
but
I mean, as far as single coils go, because
the single
a lot of different single coil designs that I've been experimenting with, they'll use just like a regular iron slug with either an Alnico or a ceramic magnet and stuff like that, especially some of the old Japanese and Korean stuff.
I've never liked it. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and I think early on I used to offer like single coil sized humbuckers. So as much as it's a slightly different thing, but it's you're putting a tiny little humbucker in a single coil routing, and they always just sounded harsh to me. I could never get like the magnet onto slug in a Strat context to sound anything other than just unpleasant to my ears. I think the rod magnets really suit the single coil design. They're not quite as pokey. Each string gets its own magnet, so you can have them staggered if you want. To be fair, I usually do non-staggered just so that they're ambidextrous. So that if someone's left-handed or does something and doesn't tell me, then they're not going to be in any trouble. But I find that it works well.
Have you ever tried with the steel plate and stuff for the Strat bridge pickup?
I've tried like the focusing plates and things, and they make a surprising difference. I have yet to come across a pickup design that I thought sounded better with the focusing plate there.
That's interesting.
But it's definitely something that I've like at some point I'm sure I'll be messing about. The thing is, the range I've got now covers pretty much everything, but I just get bored and I start messing around, and like I just want to create more.
Yeah, well, that makes sense because someone may have bought pickups from you for every one of their guitars, but they still want to buy pickups from you. So if you're innovating and inventing and trying new stuff, I mean, variety is the spice of life. We can have one of everything type thing. I've got like 4 different sets of humbuckers for my Les Paul. In fact, I've got a set of Beano pickups coming from.
I'm looking at boxes of pickups that I could like open up like right now. I mean, There's a pickup for every occasion. Is the way I look at it. I mean, seriously, you can take like a raw magnet and wrap a bunch of wire and cover that in tape and shove it in something like the gold foils that so many people think are the bomb.
They're interesting because they're like the least amount of engineering, and they just
they're craptacular.
We were talking about this.
Craptacular.
Was it last show we were talking about this? Where it's like,
I'm sure we were. I'll go on about it.
Sorry, so many people use them guitars like to make music that our ears are accustomed to that sound. So even though in isolation they're poorly made, but because we've heard them so much.
We've got a clip from one of our shows where we're talking about me and Thurston Moore getting into bidding wars over those guitars because that's the Sonic Youth sound, and how these people used to go in and spend thousands of dollars trying to chase that sound down, and then they found out I could just get a guitar with gold foil pickups and get that sound. What? Wait a minute.
Grace Fandango says gold foil. I thought you'd have tin foils, John. Brilliant.
No, they're titanium foil at this point.
So Jack,
tin foil's not going to last.
do you put any weight behind the gold foil thing? The Coordacaster?
I'm not a fan of them myself. I think it's one of those things where I grew up playing guitars with humbuckers, P90s, Telecasters and Stratocasters, so I knew where I was. I had a good footing for what sounded good and what didn't in that. And I've never had a gold foil guitar. And I think for me to enter into the gold foil market, I'd be kind of flying blind. I'm not a fan of the sound myself, so I think I'd just be. I wouldn't back myself to put a decent gold foil out there, to be honest, because I don't know what good sounding.
Turn you to the dark side, my young Padawan.
It's hard to build.
I could turn you to the dark side. Though, isn't it? Believe me.
Yeah.
Dan Electro, Jack White, Jack White.
I'm a fan of Jack. I'm a fan of Jack White, but
the Edge.
I'm not a fan of him, to be honest.
Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page.
But we're just saying.
Dan Electro, Jimmy Page. Dan Electro, Jimmy Page.
Did you watch It Might Get Loud recently?
Yay.
So I've been interested in the lipstick pickups. I quite like the fact that Stevie Ray had a strap with them in. I think that's interesting. Yeah. And I like the look of the Dan Electro guitars. The vintage ones are still reasonably cheap compared to other vintage guitars. But I'm not sure I would, I bang on about this. I've only got 6 slots for guitars in my so I can only have 6 guitars.
There's 6 guitars your wife can know you have, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, my kid's got one. My 18-year-old's got one of my guitars. So there's one of them hidden away,
6.
Yeah. What you alluded before in our stream that we shall not talk about because I missed it. You alluded to some new pickups that you've been working on.
I can. I've never worked with D-Ghost magnets or anything. I always thought they were a little too niche. But recently I've been talking to Rob, who builds amplifiers, Rob Dix. I don't know if you know him, RD amps. Yeah, great amps. And he's looking for something for one of his P90 guitars that has somewhere in between a sort of P90 and single coil kind of sound. And I just thought So I'm. It's going to take a bit of refining because he's I'm in uncharted waters for myself, and he's a pretty particular guy as well. He knows what sounds good. So, but yeah, I'm working on D-Ghost magnets, P90s, super low output, super transparent, trying to bridge the gap between a P90 and a single coil. So rather than it sounding like a beefed up single coil that's overwound, it'll sound like a super open P90. That's the plan.
That sounds right up my street. It's kind of what I get from I've got a staple P90 that straight from somewhere around me, and that thing just has it kind of sounds like a regular single coil, but it's got a bit more beef. That's the best way.
Yeah, so it's like trying to achieve that, but in just like a normal dog ear or soap bar, then you don't have to go the staple route.
Yeah. Dave
Yeah.
Lewis says new signature Fender Johnny Marr has 3 lipstick pickups. I haven't seen this, but it's $3,000. $3,000. Bloody hell.
That's because of the name.
Well,
2 names actually. There's actually 2 names on that guitar that cost you that much money.
yeah, Fender and
Johnny Marr.
Yeah, fair play though. I mean, they must sell them. So I always think about value in terms of if someone's going to pay the money, it's worth it. So I had
Well,
an interview.
there's a
I
sucker
had
born a minute,
it.
Nate. P.T.
Well,
Barnum said, there's a sucker born a minute.
well, funnily enough, in Birmingham last year, was it last year? Anyway, the Birmingham Guitar Show, I had a woman come round with a camera interviewing people, and she looked at my pedals for about 10 seconds and then said, "Do you ever sell any of these? They're so expensive." And I was like, "Well, yeah." And she was like, "Well, what about these little ones over here, the cheaper ones? I take it they're your biggest seller." And I was like, "Well, no." And then the next year I come back to Birmingham, I still have one of them little pedals because they just don't sell, the cheaper ones for me. I think people just, that's not what they associate with my brand. And I still had one. And I was like, look, I've still got it. Whereas all the bigger fuzz face style pedals, the big things that are ridiculous, they'd all sold. So I suppose it's all what people are going to pay for. So
well, that was something I discovered like back in the 1990s when I was like fine art guy and I was making fine woodworking projects. I underpriced a lot of my stuff because I thought it was a fair price. The materials and what I put into it and my labor, nobody wanted to buy it. I tripled my prices. I sold out.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Someone in work put it to me in toothpaste terms because I'm a big fan of like whitening toothpaste, and the one I buy is like 20 quid. I bought it once, 20 quid toothpaste. Who pays that? Me. Why? Because I wanted to see what 20 quid toothpaste was like. So it's probably the same stuff with a bit of food dye in it. I'm not stupid. I realize that. I'm still going to buy it. So
well, yeah, a lot of it came down to the perception. Like when somebody looked at something and they said it costs this much, well, it must not be that great because it's only this much. But if it costs this much, it's got to be great. It's like what we talk about, with the components. It's like, when you tell somebody it's got this vintage component in it, and then, they get that in their mind, then, that becomes, part of the whole synergy. It's the greater than the parts.
Well, there's even things like old wire for pickups. There's like General Vintage Tone. I don't know if you've ever heard.
I was about to get into the wire,
use,
like the
old wire and I part of me thinks I'm like, there's no way that makes a difference. But then the other half of me is like, can I afford them pickups because I want a set? So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always come at it from an ethos of like, try to use what's widely available, try to keep the costs down from the customer and for the customers. Sorry, and it's like I supply pickups to a few different luthiers in the UK, and they were all saying to me when I was first starting to supply them, like, you've got to put your prices up because we're putting your pickups in because we like them, but then our customers are going to think that we're cheaping out. But it's the same thing. It's like I'm trying to. I still do. I try to keep my overheads low. I try not to spend money on stuff that doesn't make any difference.
It really is a fine balance because you want to give the customer something that's like of value, but then at the same time you don't want them to think that you're selling them something that's subpar.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just like, and it's the perception thing again. It's like, what do people think of as being important? Like, your average consumer is not going to think, oh well, the inductance is like 9 Henrys, so it's going to sound good if you like down tune it and then get loads of gain on because it will cut out some of that high end fizz. They're going to think like, is it plain enamel wire or is it what kind of coating does the wire have? Because that's the way people market pickups. They market them based on the magnet and the wire. Mm-hmm. And really, it's the synergy of everything that makes a pickup sound good. You can't
exactly.
It's easy to get into your head that like a ceramic pickup's going to sound bright and an Alnico 2 pickup's going to sound warm. But I could make an Alnico 2 sound bright and a ceramic sound dark.
And then we have to remember that we've come a long way in developing our technologies, and we have wire now that is way thinner, that has a different kind of coating on it that'll last a lot longer, and we can wrap a pickup like that'll read like ridiculous, amounts of inductance in the same amount of packaging. you know.
Yeah.
I
do.
This has brought up something really interesting here. I just want to bring Hayes Anderson in. He says wire coating changes my tone. A laughing emoji, and I always think the wire coating probably doesn't change your tone. It probably doesn't.
Well, you know,
but what value you assign to it, does that change?
Yeah.
It's the same people that, like, you know, argue over bobbin material. Like, if you start over, if you start overthinking it, man.
So I've got one.
Shut
for
up
you,
and
John.
play your guitar. That's my advice. If you start overthinking it, shut up and play your guitar.
There's a company in the US that own the original molds for the T-top pickups. So
good on them.
Brandon wound pickups. Now, them molds are only the same mold as everything else. It's just got a little T on, and you could make that mold yourself. But because it's molded in the original one, in my mind, that puts some value to it. Like historically.
And that's the reason why counterfeiters exist.
And because
and that's the reason why counterfeiters exist.
My question
somebody
is,
put value on a little.
My question is, let me put it in different terms. My question is, if I have something wrong with me, a cancer, we'll say cancer, let's get in there for something else.
Well,
and someone a doctor prescribes me sugar tablets and tells me it's a wonder drug. But in my mind, I think it's the real thing.
So we're talking about the placebo effect. Let's just call it for what it is. It's the placebo effect.
Yeah. Well, or you could say
now we can go even deeper into that, because then you start getting into the manifestation and the belief. Like that's you know, the other thing.
100%.
Like that has more to do with you than what's been given you.
100%. You perceive the world. It's the matrix.
It's like what I was saying about how I wouldn't practice guitar. I just mess about with my rig. It probably didn't really sound different to other people. It might not have sounded different in real life, but in my head it did, because I just spent £200 changing.
100%. And the question is, if you in your head think that sounds better, we all know when we're having a jam session with the boys or whatever, and it's your rig sounding particularly good. But everyone else is like, you need to turn it down a bit because you're stabbing me in the face. To me, it sounds amazing. And I must admit that you play better. And so if you play better, you're playing better. So it sounds better because you're playing better. Therefore, whatever it is that you've changed makes it sound better because you feel better.
Until the engineer hits playback and you hear the recording that doesn't lie, and you're like, oh, shit.
Well, I disagree.
Having been in the studio, having been one of those guys where, you know, I get paid $500 a minute.
If you're playing a live gig, mate, John, if you're playing a live gig and you think your rig sounds shit,
all bets are off. All bets are off.
But if you think your rig sounds shit, you're not going to play as well. And therefore,
if I think my rig sounds shit, I'm going to play better, because I have to compensate for my rig sounding like shit, because I've got to play better in order to get some sort of tone out of that rig that sounds like shit. It's a fight. It's always a fight. It's always a fight when it's live, mate.
Everyone knows that feeling that you get right there.
There's no net.
When it's good,
fight.
And it's just
oh God, yeah. Then the heavens open and the Jesus rays come down. But when it's sounding bad, then that's when you figure out what you're made of. That's when you figure out what you're made of. When it sounds like shit, that's when you figure out whether or not you've got it or not. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. No, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Okay.
Talk to any professional. Talk to any pro. Talk to any pro. When you sound like shit, that's when you fight hardest. Because you want to make it sound better.
Let me put it to the people. I want everyone just to put in the comments whether you think that if you've changed something in your rig, like, for example, a new pedal or whatever, and you're on your game because you're loving life because you've got a new pedal, do you feel like your sound sounds better and you have a better time?
That's not what we're talking about. No, don't redirect this. I'm talking about, like, if something's going wrong and you're live.
I never said wrong, but we're talking about tone. And
exactly. Like
having something new.
Yeah. You were saying, like, if you said if something was going wrong in a live gig, you know.
Oh, I said if your sound was bad.
Yeah.
If your sound was bad.
Yeah, in a live gig. If your sound was bad in a live gig, like, if you tried out a new pedal and your sound was bad,
yeah,
I'd fight harder. I would fight harder,
mate.
And then if I couldn't win, I'd throw that pedal off. I'd throw that pedal off my board and try another one.
If you
and be another fight, because I'm gonna win one way or another, around, over, under, or through.
If you plug me into a piece of shit amp and it sounds bad, all the playing in all the world isn't going to make it sound good.
Say that to Jimi Hendrix. Say that to Prince. Say that to any Eric Gales.
You're talking about the 1%, mate. I am not the 1%.
I'm sorry.
It's a fact. Is a serious point though. Please stop talking over everyone. It sounds like an argument, not a discussion, and they're struggling to watch. That's very fair. Very fair. So what I'm saying is psychosomatic effect. It's a thing. And I learned this with my kid. So I tell this story all the time. He was really into BMXing when he was younger. He was like, I'm going to be a professional BMXer, Dad. And after a while, he started getting bored of his gear. That's basically what it is. And he was like, I'm not interested in this bike. It's rubbish. And he started going out on it less. And when he was down the track racing, he was losing races. He went doing well. I took him to the bike shop and we bought new stickers. They do nothing for the bike. It's just stickers. We stripped it down. We tarted it up with new stickers. And he goes back on the bike. His first race, he smashes everyone by some margin. It's all in his head. It's a fact.
Well,
and so if you buy a new set of pickups and you put them in your guitar and they make you feel good, then you feel good. So you relax and there's less barriers between you and creativity. If there's less barriers between you and creativity, then you play better. And if you play better, it sounds better. And if you're loving life up there, the crowd love it more because you're interested in it. We've all been to see bands where you're like, that guitarist does not want to be on stage now. He just doesn't. You know what I mean? So I find it hard to believe when people say it has no effect. No, what you can say is, to me, I don't hold this thing, whatever it is. Let's say, I don't know. Do you know what? It could be something as simple as a new watch. I've got a new watch, so I'll feel good, so I'll play better. But you could say, I hold no value in this set of pickups. It's a tool to me. It means nothing. So because you hold no value in it, it's not going to make you play better or worse because you feel nothing. But if you're emotionally engaged, let's say you spent, I don't know, how much is a set of paths? $4,000 on a set of paths. If you've invested that much money into it, you're going to be emotionally attached to them. So it's going to have an effect on you, whether you like it or not. And that's true.
That's true.
There's no getting around that.
I've seen people like so emotionally attached to it that they will not give up. They will keep trying to beat that horse and expect it to sound like what they paid for. So at some point you have to say, I wasted $4,000 on a set of paths. This is not the tone that I was looking for. I can spend $400 on this set from Alchemy Pickups and get the tone that I want.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is the psychosomatic feedback loop of you.
Well, exactly. But I'm saying that psychosomatic feedback loop can become something that is a trap. It can become a trap. It really can.
Well, that's why when you go to a good pickup builder, and he says, you're choosing something wrong for you, and you steer them in the right direction. Like for example, for us, 9 times out of 10, when I'm selling a Rangemasters to someone, they want germanium, but almost always
they settle on silicon. Exactly.
They should do in a blind test. It is always the case. But if I was to put 2 identical sounding silicon transistors together, and I can show you them on a switch, and I can flick between them, and one looks fancy and one's just a little black transistor, I guarantee the people will say that the fancy one sounds better, and they will get into playing more and enjoy it more. And if it makes you enjoy it more, then it's worth the money in my mind. I'm buying the expensive pickups. I'm buying the expensive guitar, even though a cheap one could do the same. Like, for example, you could give me the best Epiphone in the world. If it's China, Far East made or whatever, I'm picking the American Gibson every time. I just am.
Well, I would say, I would spend the money if it's worth it. I would want to know, what makes it worth the money? Why are you spending that much money? Because there's a lot of people that will sell you snake oil. You know, they'll sell you a guitar, or they'll sell you something that doesn't have the tone that you're looking for. There's only a handful of those guitars, you know, that are iconic, that have that tone because of certain factors. And just because another guitar was made at the same time in the same factory, you know, does not mean it has the same tone.
No, I agree.
And you're going to spend like ridiculous amounts of money for something, you know, it better sound the way that, you know, you think it's going to sound. Otherwise, you better go, you know, spend that money, you know, more wisely.
It may not be, and this is bringing it back to pickups. It may not be the fact that it's a Gibson and it's cost lots of money that's made me have this feeling towards them. Maybe it's I've sat down with Alchemy Pickups and we spec'd out these pickups. It took a long time to go through the process, and I put value in the fact that he's listened to my tone and worked it out. Maybe that's the value that I'm thinking of. So
that's a whole different kind of value. That's
to me, it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I call real value, because you have a personal interaction with somebody that exists, like you exist.
Yeah, it's like you're saying about
you're not counting on what somebody wrote in a magazine about something that was made before you were born.
Well, it's like the same thing to me.
It's the same thing as you having that conversation with someone and knowing that they would benefit more from a silicon fuzz than a germanium fuzz. If they take your advice and actually go with a silicon fuzz, then even the fact that it's a less fancy, less expensive, and less vintage transistor, it's going to be like, well, I spoke to the guy who like built this, and he recommended this, and it does sound great. So they're going to have that connection with it still, but just for a real reason rather than like a sort of fanciful one.
Yeah. I guess the thing that keeps coming back to my mind is like when they were doing this big Gibson promotional thing with Slash, and they asked him what his favorite Gibson was, and he said it was the fake one.
Yeah. Well, and that's because he recorded all them songs with it. It was his first good guitar. You know, all of this stuff, it had sentimental value to it.
Exactly.
It's just like I got to hold the Beast the other day, the 1959 at the London International Guitar Show. So I got to sit down, play it for 5 minutes, get my picture taken with it. Now that thing, whether it's, I mean, it really does play nice for usually old guitars are a bit of a fight, but it was like butter, honestly. But I'm putting value in it because I know Bernie Marsden owned that guitar, you know what I mean? So,
oh man,
so to me, that would make me feel great, no matter what.
There were guitars that I've owned that I wish I still owned, and if I can find them, I'll re-own them. That when I picked them up and played them, like, you know, you could tell like the soul that was in it, like the person and the people that had handled that guitar before you handled it. Like it was coming through and it was telling me what to play. I played things that I never even thought I could play. And so, yeah, there's something to be said about that. You know, there's mojo. There is mojo. Don't get me wrong.
I've got some mojo on right now. Actually, check this bad boy out. Mrs. Grace Fandango bought me this hat. I just I forgot to say that. Cheers, mate. Well, that's another thing.
But you know,
if people come
like I've bought mojo for $150.
Oh, I agree.
I bought a guitar that like made me jump up and down and scream, you know, obscenities and say, "That's my guitar." And you know, it's like,
without a doubt. John, I've got a random question. Have you got a pen and paper handy?
Well,
in your immediate vicinity, or anything you can write on?
I do. Yes.
Right. Good. Go on. If you've got it ready, get on this bit of a lighter thing. What we're going to play here, and I want everyone in the chat to play along. I'm going to say a type of music, i.e., like a type of music and a type of guitar, and I want you to Jack to try and tell us what type of pickup you would put in that guitar to achieve that sound. And I'm going to write it down. I'll get John to write down what he thinks, and we'll see how close we get to the master who knows what he's doing. I mean, you're talking about Henrys and all sorts, and I'm thinking, I'm thinking, how much would they pay for the pickup? But anyway, so for example, if an easy one, I would say like Jimi Hendrix and so, and you would write and down Strat set, whatever, magnet, you know, that sort of thing. And if anyone could write in the comments, and let's see who can get closest to the master himself. So we'll start off with let me think. We'll start off with the Eric Clapton Beano tone. Don't tell me yet. I'm going to write it down. So the type of magnet, the type of pickup, and I want to know the wire coating as well, because I don't know what coating.
I'm crossing my music genres. Hold on a second. There's no way that the person that I wrote down is going to play guitar.
The what? What, Clapton? Right, is everyone ready? Mr. Crazy Fandango says, it says Gibson Paths. Yep, no doubt. La Amber Pig, I messed that up. La Amber Pig says Micro Henry's, for fuck's sake, get in. Dan Minch has given us some ideas, like Mr. Gilmore. Get on. Jay Duffield says a white Falcon with P90s. Yeah, perfect, mate. That's the one.
Yeah. Well, so
John Pardo, Path plain enamel wire. Right, I've got Joe H5 here just to show that I'm not cheating. Alnico 3 and Alnico 5 humbucker, and I put phone bar wire because I couldn't think of any other.
Well, so cross musical genre Jean originally wrote down Charlie Parker ES 150 pickups when he meant Charlie Christian ES 150s. So
I can definitely see Clapton with a set of them.
I mean, can you imagine Charlie Parker pickups? Like
so yeah, I think
I mean, come on, like what?
What are you thinking, Jack? It's a Les Paul, standard Les Paul.
Yeah, I'm thinking you go for a PAF reproduction. Almost any, because you're not going to get it. Obviously, you're not going to get the tone because you're not Eric Clapton. It's not going to happen. But to get in the ballpark, you'd be looking at PAF. Magnet, it matters a little bit. It doesn't matter too much. Obviously, back in the Gibson factory in the 50s, they just chuck whichever magnet was nearest to them in whichever pickup they were. People associate the Alnico 2s with the necks. The neck is so much warmer. I think a lot of the Alnico 5s that they put in were actually Alnico 4s, but I could be getting that wrong. I'm not like a history buff, but yeah, just any PAF humbucker. From my range, I'd be looking at the Evocation 1 set, I would say, probably. So you get a little bit more bite from the bridge.
And what about another thing I didn't include on mine? What about like strength? Like what, if I'm measuring the pickup in resistance terms?
Yeah, so this is an interesting look. So the resistance thing is it's not really a marketing trick. The resistance does exist, but generally speaking, people will think of a really high output pickup as being for like metal and sounding really heavy, and a low output pickup as being more for clean playing and jazz and that sort of thing. And that is true, but that's because that's more like a byproduct of how the pickup has been designed. So, like for example, I've got one here. This is a crazy high output humbucker that I'm working on. Well, it's not crazy high. It's about 22K, and that is for metal. Yeah, it's pretty high. But if I'd gotten that 22K with super thin wire, like really super thin wire, and it was really low inductance, it'd sound really bright and really tinny and really thin. So the resistance, it works because people understand it. So for PAF, you're looking at about like 7.5K, something like that, in that ballpark.
Losing signal.
We freeze.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So
you said for
is it
like for a path in that ballpark.
yeah, you
Yeah.
froze out me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm just saying that the resistance is more so just a byproduct of what gauge of winding wire the pickup winder's using and how many times they've used.
And you know what my next question is going to be,
so.
though? Yeah. What does the gauge of wire do for the sound? Like, why does that matter?
Right. So if you're using so PAF would use 42 gauge. So that would give you relatively high inductance for your output. So say you're in that PAF range of 7.5K. If I were to do wind a pickup to 7.5K and use 43 gauge wire, the inductance would be significantly lower, which the effect that would have is that it would sound brighter, it would sound thinner, there'd be less presence. And that is how you end up with the higher output stuff being for metal, because the thinner wire, when you get it properly overwound, because obviously you've got more footprint on the wire on the bobbin, to get it overwound with the thinner wire, you end up with really high inductance in a way that you can't get with by the time you get to the inductance you need for like a C standard death metal pickup. If you're using 42 gauge wire, you just run out of room on the bobbin. So you need to use. I use the thinnest wire I use is 0.04 mil, which is I think 46 or 46.5 gauge. It's super thin and it's really difficult to work with. But I have one pickup in my range that is one of those just stupid high output pickups. Sounds like you're playing two guitars at once. It's for the people that they're playing extended range 7/8 strings or super low tunings, and they want a super heavy, really deep, tight sound.
But I've used like the really thin wire to make Texas overwound single coil, like Telecaster and Stratocaster type pickups too, like even a 52 gauge. There's a 52 gauge that I found that's got a very specific coating that you can still handle it. You have to be careful because it will snap. I mean, when you're getting down to that,
So you're looking at wire pickups. Wind pickups. What do you do if the wire snaps?
Well, that's it.
It depends. It depends. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, like
right. Okay. So
if you're halfway through, you just start over.
If it's like if I'm building it for myself, I might be able to like patch in like a little wire and solder it to itself. But obviously for like a real customer pickup, that's game over. You start over. Yeah.
Wow. So if you're putting all them turns on like a 20K pickup, a 20K humbuck and two coils, you get to the end of it or 2/3 through. Wow.
Yeah.
So do you find a lot of heavy metal players go for the thinner wire, higher output? Is that a
they like the bigger number for definite. The bigger the number, the harder the pickup. So they're gonna like that. Bigger, heavier, more. It goes to 11, that kind of thing. But it does also have utility. Like I mean, you can play metal with a PAF, and I think it'll sound great. But if you're really down tuning, the fact that it is, and you're putting loads of gain on, the fact that it sits where it does, you'll get quite a lot of the high end buzz and transients that if you are down tuning and you want to be focusing on those low notes, it will be letting too much high end through, and it'll be.
Yeah, that's what I had to do when I started winding pickups for baritone guitars as well. Like you started to have overwhelmed pickups because you're getting the thicker strings, and I guess it would come down to like there's less of a field response, from the string acting. Like, I guess without getting too nerdy, about like how magnetic induction fields work and stuff like that, a higher tension string is going to vibrate differently than a lower tension string. And so you need more winds in order to be able to pick it up.
Yeah, that's true. That's certainly true. Like, obviously, if it's down tuned, it'll sort of compensate for it because it will vibrate more freely. But on baritones,
it's the reason why bass guitar pickups have a higher, inductance than guitar pickups do.
Yeah, because obviously the strings.
It's a bit counterintuitive, isn't it? Because you would think like the higher inductance. Oh no, sorry, I'm thinking the other way around. Low inductance, more high end, isn't it? I was going to say I'm just building a Hawk booster, and the tone circuit on that works off well 3 different inductors on a switch. It's really weird, but yeah, it's interesting that you can tune a pickup via inductance rather than resistance, because my whole guitaring career I've been like, 8K is a strong path, 6K is a weak path,
Yeah,
but actually technically it's not it.
Well,
No.
this has something to do with like a completely different thing. This has to do with a physical effect, like a physical field. So when you think of it that way, it's different than when you're thinking of it in a circuit. Like in a circuit, it's different, but in a field effect like that, you're having to take into account like all the different things around it, like the thickness of what's vibrating within it, like the number of cycles that it vibrates.
I think that's another thing as well, is as far as like the consumer's concerned, when you're talking about like boutique handmade stuff, anything for guitars or anything else, if you get too technical with it, you start to get in danger of robbing the thing that you've created of some of its mojo, for want of a better word. I think it's easier for people to understand the resistance thing, because it's like, it's a pretty standard reading. People are aware of what resistance is, and it does it's not one-to-one, but it sort of correlates. And I think if you start like nailing down, like, exactly what inductance you want, exactly what winding wire it needs to be, it's like at that point, the hand winding, the scatter winding, and the things that have like a little bit of an effect and make every single hand wound pickup unique and give it a little bit of soul, it sort of takes that away. So at that point, you might as well just be machine winding things to a really specific spec, because you've studied a frequency chart and you know exactly what kind of
cool.
So there's a little bit of that. Sorry,
we're getting some questions in the chat. I don't want to miss them, because I have a tendency to ignore the viewers, especially when it's a subject like this that I'm genuinely interested in. So Dave Lewis says, Jack, are there different waxes used for pot and pickups? And I'd like to just add to that and say, do they matter?
So all right, so when I started making pickups, and actually still now, I wasn't in a well-ventilated area, so I didn't want to use paraffin wax because it's super toxic, and I always found it a bit brittle. That's why they mix it with the beeswax too. But so I started experimenting with soy, and then that melted at slightly too low of a temperature. So like if you get onto stage lights and things, you could start to get some microphonics. So I've got like a soy bees blend now that I don't have to have the room ventilated. I can just pop things in there without needing specialist equipment, and I found that it works really well. It does make a slight difference. A potted pickup generally is just going to sound a little bit less live than an unpotted pickup. But if you've designed a pickup with the potting in mind, then you can sort of compensate for that. Like you can sort of cut it off ahead and be like, right, well, I'm going to slightly underwind it to let more treble exist, so that when I pot it, the treble will get cut off just a little bit, and then it'll be where I want it. So such as like the path stuff, I'll only lightly pot that. And if somebody wants it unpotted, they can have it unpotted. It'll still sound great.
That was exactly my next question. You've just
yeah.
So if you were to lean towards your own preferences, do you prefer a potted pickup, heavily potted pickup, or no potting?
I think I do prefer potted pickups. I think it's just I'm used to them, because most pickups I've played have been potted. And I usually play humbuckers, Gibson type guitars while I was growing up. So I'm very used to that sound. I think that plays a part of it. But I increasingly I'm liking the more lightly potted stuff, the more traditional, like the path stuff. It just seems to have, there's more transients in it, the really asymmetrical coils. And when I was first starting to make pickups, it was like the big number thing. I liked the 20+K super thick and heavy sounding stuff that had been massively like potted against microphonics, because of you've got that many turns of wire on there that it's really susceptible to it. But so I guess my preference is for like a light to moderate potting on a humbucker.
That's awesome. And next question, Mr. Craze Fandango in this time, he says, is there anything special about Fender wide range humbuckers where they put the magnets in the pole pieces? I think it means the magnet material.
Yeah, the pole pieces are magnetic, like we were talking about before.
Yeah, but am I right in believing it's the magnet material that makes them rare or harder to reproduce? I'm not too sure on them. I think we've lost audio from Jack there.
Still can't hear him.
I'll just.
Oh, no, I hear him.
Oh no, you're back in. You're back in, me.
Brilliant. No, I have had wide range pickups. I had like a thin line telly with the Fender wide range in the neck, and I've dabbled in them, but they're not my cup of tea. It's like I prefer the sound of a proper humbucker. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think they're Cunife magnets that are slotted and like made into sort of screws. And it's like we were saying earlier, the rod magnets, they have a slightly softer sound. There's a little bit less presence, a little bit less magnetic field. So they lend themselves to, they do work quite well in a telly actually, because of how bright and brash and in your face a telly is. The softer magnetic response kind of helps take the edge off a little bit. But
why
so there is something special.
Was that just to make them different?
I have no idea. I guess so. Just to be awkward.
It could have been it could have been to like bypass patents.
Yes.
Like a lot of designs came about because of patents. Like, they had to, compete, but they still had to not have to pay their competitors. Something that I wanted to ask is, like, what kind of string gauge and string type do you like find people like gravitating different pickups towards? Like, I've had a lot of different players that, they play like 15s, flat wounds, and then also people that play 8s and everything in between, every type of string composition. And, so like sometimes like when somebody's playing a string that is of a certain gauge or a certain type, it's going to react differently to that pickup. So like, have you found like different people gravitate, like more jazz players that play flat wounds, like Tomastic type, players gravitate towards certain pickups, and the guys that play 9s and go immediately gravitate towards other pickups?
I haven't. I'll have to do some sort of. I'll have to collate some data and ask people who bought pickups in the past what string gauge they're using, so I can get a little table going.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, I'll find that people who are playing smaller string gauges, lighter string gauges, will want their pickup to have more low end and more presence, just to make that sound bigger. And
just to compensate for their compensation.
Yeah, yeah. So they they don't have to stress their fingers out. But then also equally, the guys who are playing massive drop tunings and heavier string gauges are going to want the crazy metal pickups usually. And then of course the jazz stuff, it's like,
like I'm used to a lot of archtop players that they're into the whole like ES series of archtops and that kind of thing, and they're looking for a very specific tone, and a lot of them like they go back and forth between P90s and little mini humbuckers that fit off the end of the fingerboard, and I didn't know if like you'd encountered any of those beasts yet.
Like I have one jazz humbucker set that's designed for semi-hollows, and that's designed for use with flat wound strings, and it's just super flat EQ, super transparent, so that the warmth that they're getting from having the tone turned all the way down and playing those flat wound strings, it's not going to get too woolly. So I find it's a little counterintuitive, but they're quite low inductance, they're quite toppy, but because they're being used in that context, it just introduces a little bit of clarity into the super warm full setup.
And I've also like found guys like that go on either end of the spectrum, where they want either really microphonic pickups, so it gets all the tone of the box and the craftsmanship of the wood, to come through. Like, it's a microphone in itself. It's a microphone and a pickup, or they want all that gone. And they're the guys that want to sound like George Benson.
Yeah, well, I think I have. There's definite correlation there. Is that the people who play the sort of like prog metal widdly stuff want all of that gone, and the people who play like the hard classic rock want all of that there. So I think that there's a definite correlation between people who like to play like live, brash, sort of like raw, classic, guitar-driven music. They like the light potting or the no potting and the more microphonic kind of those transients and things that you get from that. And the guys who are playing like super technical prog and gent and stuff, they like it to be almost computer focused.
Yeah, so
really.
that would probably be a good thing for people like looking at your pickups to start with, like what are they playing, and are they looking more for this kind of thing or that kind of thing? So
yeah, and quite often as well it's the rig. Like we talk about the guitar because that's like in the context. Like the pickups are the voice of the guitar, so the guitar's really important. But if their rig sounds really bright, then
what they're playing through, what kind of amp they're plugging into, what kind of pedal chain they're going through, and
so it's like I struggle to ascertain all that information from people. So if I just say, look, how does your setup sound now, and what are you hoping to achieve? Then even if it's not what I would typically think of as being the correct pickup for what they're trying to play, it might be the situation that they're in, the gear that they've got, and the stuff that they like. Like it might be that one of their other guitars sounds ace through this setup, and then this one guitar, for whatever reason, doesn't. Then it's sort of like the pickup is tailoring their guitar to their existing gear, so that they can use the guitar that they like and get a sound they like out of it without having to mess about with their amp and change their pedals out and stuff.
That's fantastic. Have you ever? My mind went straight to. Have you ever asked anyone that and said, "What are you trying to achieve?" And it's just like, well, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
I've had like somebody says, well, I was like, well, what do you want? Like, I don't know, surprise me. I was like, okay,
no pickups in it. Surprise!
Surprise!
I sort of get. Generally speaking, there are three types of people. It's like someone who's got a good idea of what they want, but they're willing to like engage with me and like we'll work it out together. Then there's the guy who definitely thinks he knows exactly what he wants, and he's like got in touch with me saying, look, I want you to build this pickup, I want you to overwind it and swap this magnet in it. That's what and it's like at that point you just do as you're asked, because it's like that's part of the deal. And then occasionally you do get, it's usually actually guitar builders who are building guitars for a client. They'll come to me and they'll be like, look, I've got no idea what I want, but this is the sort of music the guy that I'm building for plays. This is the guitar I'm building. What would you recommend? And I quite like that, because it's more, it feels more collaborative then. It's like you put your input to them, and I can then, I've got the freedom to maybe make 4 or 5 different suggestions and be like, look, if you go this way, it'll sound more like this. If you go this way, it'll sound more like that. And then we can work it out from that.
Want to say belated hello to Dan Mincher. He says, he decided to join the right stream. LOL.
Sorry, Dan. I messed up the streams, mate.
An hour.
I wasn't trying to get rid of you. I didn't make everyone switch just to see it off, mate.
Hey, he should be getting his pedal tomorrow. Speaking of overcharging in the UK,
oh, mate.
he had to pay like over 50-some pounds.
Yeah,
but
mental.
That's.
Do you know what? I don't begrudge the so I had this with. Do you watch a guy called the Guitarologist?
Guitarologist, Guitarologist,
yeah. So he put a thing out, like a live video where he was talking about people moaning on the internet, and he's like, tariffs are in place. He talks about tariffs basically, and I watch him quite a bit when I'm building, and I just felt the need to say, I don't care how much tariffs they put on anything, because I will just make my products better, and then people will be willing to pay it, and I'll just keep innovating and improving. And he was like, that's kind of rad. In fact, his words was rad. I would not say that. That's a bit too cool for me. I'd say good. But it's interesting there, because I'd be willing to pay any tariff to order whatever from America. So we've always paid tariffs. Always. Yeah. Speaking of the what you want from pickups, my last set, all I wanted was gold pole screws. That was what my criteria.
The only thing is it had multiple screws. Everything else was
yeah, because it's a black Les Paul custom, and I actually asked ChatGPT which pickups for the neck and bridge to achieve Noel Gallagher's tone on Live Forever, and they come up with the Mules Alnico 4. So I was like, well, if AI is telling me it's true on New Overlords, why not? But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've made so many mistakes with pickups. I've always done it the wrong way. And what you should do really is engage with the builder, get recommendations or whatever. And I never do that. I just go, that looks good. I'm buying it. Look at the badge on that one, the bare knuckle badge. I'm buying it. I remember my first proper guitar rig was an orange tiny Terror, and I had a tube screamer. Imagine this for the combo, and one of these limited Les Paul things with active, I can't even say it straight. Active humbuckers in it. Active humbuckers. What the fuck? Anyway, and I bought that guitar because I was drunk in Dubai for 3 days, and I woke up on the third day. Like
that's the title of your your memoirs right there, Jay.
Yeah.
Dubai for 3 days.
Well, I was drinking for 3 days, and it was like the 4th day sort of thing. I come to, and I go around the mess saying, "Whose is this guitar?" to people, and all like, "You've been carrying it for like 2 days or whatever."
It's yours,
just go
mate.
around, and what I did do was not pay for my mortgage, go out on a piss for 2 days, 3 days in Dubai, and buy a guitar. I was like, oh, I'm stuck with it now, and I had no clue about pickups at the time, anyway. And my rig sounded okay. It sounded beefy, but it sounded okay. And then I ended up reading more and going, well, I want a set of paths. And of course, I want Alnico too, because that's what you want. And I bought these, I don't know if you've heard of the brand, Cat's Whisker. I think that's what they were called, something like that. And I
a long time ago, I heard of them.
Yeah. So they were hand wound in the UK. And I put these uncovered pickups in. They looked amazing. They were cream. It was a black guitar. But it sounded like someone stabbing me in the face every time. And I just couldn't get it, even with the tone all the way off, because my whole rig was set up for these active pickups, which was so deep and bassy and driven. That just sounded terrible. I was like, well, maybe it's them pickups or whatever. And it took me a fairly long time to realize that actually it was my rig. And the one change I made didn't suit what I was doing at the time. Yeah. So it's interesting that that's the first thing you went to was, often it's not the guitar, it's the rig.
Yeah, no, it's pickups are a strange one as well, because if you've got a rig that you don't like the sound of, pickups aren't the first thing that you want to be changing out. Like, to try the speaker first would be a good place to start, or the amp, as that's something that's going to have a really massive impact on the tone.
Well, the speakers especially, but I'm the heathen that bought my Les Paul, which was not cheap. I mean, it's a 74 Les Paul. It's not cheap, but I bought the pickups at the same time as buying a guitar, so I hadn't even played it. and I knew I was cheap because I couldn't handle the fact that someone had put silver humbuckers in a gold hardware Les Paul custom. I just couldn't. My mind, the disconnect there. I could have just bought the screws or the whatever. Yeah. I mean, even the magnets are gold on them ones. I didn't know bare knuckle offered that as an option. Speaking of options, what do you offer, like custom options on yours, or?
Hold on, I've got to an extent. I try not to do anything that's too out there, but I can. I've got a guitar here that's got some strange looking humbuckers in it that I can show you. There's such as these with like black and nickel covers, and then black foil with open covers. So there's quite a lot you can do with. There's quite a lot you can do with humbuckers. There's a little bit less with the single coils. It's like, as crazy as a Strat coil gets as maybe being pink. But I've got on the website so that people can spec out. I've got all the traditional classic sort of stuff. But then if people reach out to me, we can usually hammer together something that's pretty custom for their guitar.
I love that. What's the most outlandish pickups you've built? The ones where you're I'm not sure I want to build these. It's a bit weird.
The strangest thing I've done is, and it's outlandish just because I just thought it looked, it wasn't like particularly crazy. It just didn't look nice. Is they wanted a P90, but just with no cover. And they just put with just the exposed coil because they wanted it to look like beat. It was like one of those beat up guitars. It only had 5 strings on it, sort of thing. And they were going for that vibe, but it was just an uncovered soap bar P90, and I just couldn't.
Well, I've actually had to reproduce one of those for lap steel, and I had to reproduce the bobbin because the string spacing, you couldn't buy an existing bobbin for it. Like nobody made a bobbin for that string spacing for a P90, and so I had to build one from scratch. And it's an open P90, and I know the look you're talking about. And there's some old guitars that have it, like it. You know, it's one of those like kind of like, I guess, rat rod type.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was just like, but it was literally it was just a bog standard P90, just with no cover on,
but with no cover over it. Yeah.
I've seen some of the 60s, 68 Les Paul standards, the gold tops, where someone's removed the covers on them because they've got clear bobbins or whatever. Did you go through a stage of that, Gibson?
It's just, I guess, whatever they could use for the bobbin material, you know, whoever was like producing it.
It doesn't appeal to me, like the Zook guitar and stuff like that, like the uncovered thing. It just doesn't. I mean, a humbucker, absolutely uncovered, looks great, but I just can't for it. I'm so traditionalist and boring with my I just am. Do you know what? It's so funny. I've got a 6-year-old daughter who thinks she's a fashion designer, and the other day we were going round to my mother-in-law's for a roast dinner, as you do on a Sunday, and she like looked me up and down as she come in the living room. She's like, "Oh, Daddy, you're so old and boring." I was like, "What?" Like she's just like you're not fashionable. You should just, you know, whatever. And I'm like that with my guitar choices too. Like I find it really hard to go outside the traditional. Although I've got to say, shout out to my buddy over at Lenson Guitars, Arjen. Look at these bad boys. Ooh. So the mini humbuckers with a blade. Like that is, I mean, this guitar is like it's the antithesis of me. It's a different shape to a traditional. It's not like a normal telly shape. It's a different scale length to what I like. It's got fancy wood on the neck, which I normally would hate, but it's the best looking and sounding guitar. But yeah, I've never seen this. What's the crack with blade magnets? Do you find
what do you mean? Blade pull pieces?
The rails. Yeah, they're they're kind of just. You go first. Sorry.
Well, I used to be in touch with Bill Lawrence a lot and talked about that with him a lot. And he had, I mean, unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he had a lot of really good insight as to why the blade was good for certain players, because when you eliminate the single pull pieces and you magnetize the blade and use that as a single pull piece across all the strings in the entire field, and especially if you radius it the right way, when you bend. And he was working with blues players, people like Red Volkert, Roy Buchanan, you know, guys that when you bend the note and you want to get the entire sound of the bend without losing anything in between the bend, the rail is what makes the difference. That's why. And Bill Lawrence invented the humbucker. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Seth Lover stole it from Bill. Sorry. Yeah. It's only because he was a little German boy in post World War II Germany who invented it that he didn't get the credit.
If you look at like a traditional humbucker and what the string is seeing as a magnetic field, it's just what's being put up by these pole pieces.
Yeah, so that's all it is. And so there's a gap in between them. Like if you analyze the magnetic field and you see, you know, the way that the waves form around it, and you know,
then so rail's great for bending. If you've got a guitar with really odd string spacing as well, that it's difficult to get a pickup that'll actually set the pole pieces close enough to the strings.
Exactly.
Then if you put a rail in, then it'll just eliminate that problem.
Do you know what? There's something you just said that interests me there. It's not a magnet. I just assumed that was
no, that's the pole piece. It's a singular pole piece.
Sorry, Jack.
Sits against the bar magnet. No, it's the rail magnet thing. I don't know if this is because of Dimebag, but generally speaking, particularly in like a humbucker context, they're seen as being for like super high fidelity, super high output stuff, which isn't necessarily the case. But you can, because of the way the rails sit in a lot of the humbuckers, you can get thicker magnets underneath them. So you can get a more even magnetic field and a much bigger, stronger magnetic field as well, using like oversized magnets. So they obviously not the case with yours, but yeah, there's quite a few different areas where you can use a rail.
So that, to me, that sounds, speaking from an engineering point of view, that sounds almost better. So do you think it's like a mental block that makes people go back towards the individual pole pieces, or maybe it's what we've heard so much of rather than adopting a new technology type thing?
I think you might have answered your own question.
Yeah. Also, your audio's cut out again, Jack. You're, and also I need to catch up with the stream because we've had a few questions. He's still not back in.
Not yet.
You're muted, mate. And now you're back. You're back.
All right.
Is that it?
I can hear him now.
No?
I think. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. So this has got to be the best handle that I've ever seen on YouTube. Mega Hairy Bum says,
that's a great one.
True tapped pickups, not coil split. Thoughts? He says that he had a Seymour Duncan set for P-Bass and he loved them.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, true tap, not split.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
sorry, I'm back now.
have you got any things with true taps as apart from just splitting the coil?
I mean, there's definitely a true coil tap is probably better, but for my purposes, I just do humbuckers and then the old modern 4-core conductor for coil splits. I leave the really fancy, weird electronic people messing about with their guitar stuff. I'll give them all the wire they need, and then let the wizards figure that out. On the
I never liked them because I always feel like you can make it sound good as a single coil, and then when you put it in humbucker mode, it sounds wrong. And then sometimes when you if you make it sound good as a humbucker, it just never sounds. Do you know what I haven't tried is the new Fender pickups? Don't they have like a coil and a half as their tap things, or a coil and a I've never tried them, so I can't.
No, I haven't either. But I tend to find that the path stuff when you split or tap those, they sound a bit weedy. Doesn't really lend themselves to it. But then the really high output stuff with the really high inductance, when you tap or split those, you get nearer to the inductance of an actual single coil, and they actually sound pretty good.
Yeah.
So in a weird sort of way, the high output metal stuff is more versatile than you'd think, because you can just split it down to single coil mode and then get a pretty useful, like, twinkly clean sound.
Yep. Yeah. I've got a really old Washburn guitar from the metal years that has a single humbucker in the bridge position, and it has a coil tap, and it's a true coil tap, but it's an overwound humbucker, and like you said, it's one of those things that was designed for that. It's like a Strat type guitar with a humbucker, one humbucker, and it's red, and in your face.
Craze Fandango says he prefers pickups with adjustable pole pieces, and I suppose if you know what you're doing, you can dial that in. It seems like from an engineer point of view that has to be better. But if you're like me and setting up a guitar is like a foreign language, for example, like I don't know what I'm doing setting up a guitar, I would find that maybe adjusting them to be, and I don't know why, because I can tune in a transistor like nobody's business, with an audio probe and all this stuff. I can do that, but then adjusting pole pieces, I just don't know what I couldn't do it. Like I don't know what I'm listening to.
It's kind of just, if one string sounds quiet, lift the pole piece. Because there's a lot made of like what the correct pickup height is, and people ask me like, oh, how far away from the string should I put it neck of the bridge? And it's like, you can get into a ballpark looking at, like, say, if it's a humbucker, how Gibson sound their Les Pauls. But I would say the best thing to do is just to plug it into your amp, play the guitar, mess about with it until you're happy with how it sounds. Same with the pole pieces. If you've got adjustable pole pieces, it'll make a bit of a difference. Mess about with all the individual pole pieces until you're happy with the balance. It's not an exact science, I don't think.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a tweaker. I'd end up tweaking myself out of a good tone. Do you know? That's always my fear.
I think too that like a lot of people, they try and get their pole pieces too close on Stratocaster and Telecaster type guitars. Like you adjust your pickup too close, and then it's actually affecting the string vibration because the magnet is so strong. Because you have magnetized pole pieces as opposed to a magnet that's magnetizing a slug. So a humbucker, you can get the strings a lot closer into that magnetic field and not run the risk of getting stratitis is what they used to call it, where like you're basically losing sustain because your pickup is too close to your string. You have to keep those pickups further away from the string. A little lower, yeah, because you actually have a magnet. And if you get like really high up on the neck and your string's too close, you can actually like see the string like stick to the pickup sometimes. Really? Oh yeah, it'll weld to it. If you're playing like these mealy like 8-gauge strings and you got your action set that low and your pickups are too close, I've seen guys, like, yeah, man, I don't understand. Like when I get up here into this range, like it just doesn't make any sound anymore. It's like, well, it's because the magnet's like stuck to the string,
Now that was always my worry about letting the string vibrate freely and having your pickups too close. And also, and I know this sounds completely stupid, but if you look in magazines at like famous players, they'll have their neck pickup in a Les Paul really far down, not close to strings at all. And so for me, I'm like in my head, I'm like, well, that's how it's supposed to be. So
but that's a magazine. That's a magazine shoot. This might not even be their guitar. It might have been some guitar they handed as a prop and said, "Here, hold this."
Quite possibly, mate. But even if you look at like in vintage guitar magazines, you see the neck pickup is quite low down. So without knowing what I'm doing and what I'm looking for, and I haven't set up 20 guitars or however many in the past, you don't know what you don't know. So you just kind of look at the magazine or whatever and guess it in. And I think a lot of people do that. And I'm absolutely guilty of making the guitar sound worse.
I think as well, if you set the if you've got like a PAF set and like an ES335 or something, and you set the neck and the bridge at the same distance from the strings, the neck will sound significantly louder, usually, just because it
usually does,
there's more resonation in that area of the strings. Yeah. So it might be that they've just got that bridge somewhere where they like the sound of it, and then they've just lowered the neck until there's no volume discrepancy.
Yeah, and also it could just have to do with like the balance, like between when they're switching back and forth between the neck and the bridge, or when they're going into the middle position. And and it might be that the pickup was getting in the way of where they're picking, and they just had to get the damn thing out of the way.
Strat.
I mean, they just had to lower it until they could. All right, yeah, that feels good.
I find the best way to get that pickup out the way is to leave it in. No, but you make a good point there with the middle pickup. So if you're setting up, do you do setups for customers or install pickups? So if you were installing them,
I not generally, because I sort of do mostly online, but I've had a couple of times where like a musician's touring and he's had to drop in as like he's broken a pickup. And I had one guy, it was Adam Ball. He set his guitar on fire and broke his early 60s PAF bridge humbucker. And he was playing a show later that week, so I had to strip it down and rewind it and get it back in his guitar. It's absolutely crazy. But I would generally just I'd take a picture of where that pickups are set when they bring it in and try and get them somewhere in that range. Then I'll play them through my rig and just balance them out so the volumes are about right, and then that's usually workable. Then they can tune it from there.
Mm-hmm. I always feel like I just get it in the middle position, get a sound that I like. That is different from the neck and different from the bridge. Because sometimes when you flick it in the middle, it's like nope, still sounds like the neck, or
and also like you start getting into whether you're wiring it in phase or out of phase. And
no, man, don't get me started.
Oh, get me started on that, because like
I can't do the out of phase thing. It just does it. I can't. I
Well,
feel like
that's when you need like 15 gauge strings and flat wounds. That's when the out of phase things start sounding right.
See, this is how boring I am. I've got to have tens. I'm not boring.
11s are nothing. 11s
I can't even have exotic things. Well,
what are tens?
My Les Paul Custom's got 11s on it, and I'm going to see Jimmy, friend of the show, who's not on the stream at the minute, but he's going to put a new nut on the guitar, and I'm
Jimmy Smith
back on. Yeah.
So
I can't mate. I'm so boring in my choices, tens. Tens it is.
Hey, at least you're not playing 8.5s.
Yeah, they sound too bright and to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had to turn customers away that brought me guitars they wanted to have set up for that. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not the luthier for you. These are not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think it made that much difference until Rick Beato brought out that video where he's changing strings and he's side by side every string gauge set, and it was a palpable difference.
Oh, it
really blew my mind. And I even after that, I'm ashamed to say, I went out and bought like 5 packs of 9s, put them on my guitars, and just one by one I switched them back because I don't like how it sounds. And more importantly, I despise how it feels. It's just it makes my worst playing sound even worse, At least with 11s, there's a bit of fight back. So it's not that good.
And I started like tuning all my guitars down a whole step, and so having 11s, man.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, like a Strat tuned a whole step down with 11s on it, it feels like butter. And my Chibson, tuned a whole step down. I played it like in standard for a while, but then I tuned it a whole step down. I was like, oh man.
So how would the pickup the string gauge affect your pickup choice? So like if we relate it back to my folly with active pickups and then going straight to paps and despising the tone, how can you mitigate? So if I wanted, we go back to my Les Paul, I wanted the paps in there because I hated the look of them stupid plasticky covers, and I'm not a metal player, so I wanted it to look like a proper guitar. How would you swap between something like the heavy metal active pickups to a set of paths without absolutely destroying everything about your sound? Would it just be a case of you have to buy a new amp? Because I mean, on the face of it, an orange shiny Tedder should sound good with
the pots and the other electronics in the active pickup laden guitar would probably need to go.
Oh yeah,
they were probably yeah. So that's one thing, and then I suppose heavier gauge strings might help a little bit, but I tend to find it definitely makes a difference to the sound. But it's more like I'd get the strings that feel right to you, and then work around that rather than trying to like get a sound change from the strings. If it just sounded really tinny and horrible, then I guess it would just be a case of turning the treble down on the amp.
That's
really moving some knobs around.
Yeah, I tried that, and you know what? For the longest time, I ended up being scared to turn the tone up on my guitar. It's like it's too spiky. I got this real complex over it. It was so weird, and I think what's changed it is as I'm getting older, my hearing's changing a bit, and so I'm putting more treble in my sound because I'm losing treble in my hearing. Maybe
it might maybe speakers are actually. You could try a warmer speaker would have helped.
Yeah, because I was just using whatever rubbish was in an old Marshall cab that I bought for about 50 quid or whatever.
That could have been really.
He says he's seen videos showing that string gauge make little difference. I'd be interested to see them, mate, if you want to fire them my way, because my experience is that thicker strings sound heavier. I mean, they sound.
I've had experience that like proves that wrong, and like in tone, especially if you use like technique, like if you're like attacking in certain ways, you cannot get the same tone out of a 9 that you can an 11. When you hit it a certain way.
Yeah, like if you're playing in drop C and you're doing like palm muted chugs with 8s, it sounds terrible.
Well, So my experience is much more, I'm going to say boring, but like just going from like 9s to 10s to 11s. And again, I don't know whether this is psychosomatic because I know it's a heavier gauge, but they sound like more bassy on the 11s, and the 9 sounded weedy. But also, I found them quite difficult to play. It really was difficult because there's no fight back there. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Well, and then the other thing is, like, I've noticed that, like, with really super light gauge strings, you can get clarity that you can't get in the super fast picking, like the super shred stuff. I think that's why the super shredders like the lighter gauge strings, is because you can get the clarity. It doesn't produce the same kind of harmonic overtones that create the mud, that when you're picking at that speed, you start getting these feedback loops. So I think string gauge probably plays a factor into what you're playing. Like, I want to play really heavy, thick strings when I'm playing the blues and something, that I want to really, like, dig into. But if I want to play fast, I think thinner strings might be the way to go, because I've struggled trying to play fast licks on my thicker strings.
I don't know, mate. I prefer the sound. But what are hybrid slinky? I know they're Ernie balls. Are the hybrid slinkies? What gauge is that? Is that like 10?
Is it like a skinny top, heavy bottom type thing?
Well, they've got lots of them. Yeah, they've got like the light top, heavy bottom. They've got the opposites too. Like Ernie Ball makes all kinds of custom string gauges. Yeah. Balls are best, according to a lot of players.
So he's right. The lower strings are heavier than the
46 to 9.
Strings are, yeah. Yep. So I quite like the Mick from TPS set of strings, which is like 10.5s. But I went away from them because they're such a niche string gauge that if I was away somewhere, I couldn't just buy a set of strings. I really hate that thought. So.
Oh, I know. I've got a pack here somewhere. Currently, I'm playing Stringjoy Pure Nickels. I think they're 52 to 11s, or are they 52 to 11s? Or maybe they're 50 to 11.
Dan Minch is playing 9.5s to 46s. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Are they like the constant tension? Is it something like that, or balanced tension?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Go on.
So I was just saying, I'm at the minute I'm using DR Veritas strings because I've got I've got really bad like sweat chemicals. They really rust the strings out pretty fast. So the Veritas ones with the coat, they feel great.
Yeah,
and they last way longer.
They're actually like one of the best coated strings ever.
I really like.
I really don't recommend any of the Elixir type stuff than the Nano Web stuff.
That's what I use, just because.
No, those are snake oil, because you're going to ruin your tone. Okay, think about it.
I don't have any tone, mate. I'm rubbish.
Well, okay, so think about what happens to those strings, because what they coat it with, when you pick it, it shreds and it turns into essentially a bowstring silencer.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so you are basically killing all of your tone and paying £20 for the privilege.
Do you know what I've just thought? We've just proved someone wrong. Before they said coating doesn't affect the tone on wire.
Does.
It does on your strings.
It definitely does on your strings.
Tell me more about these
snake oil. That is, the Veritas, like they use.
What is it?
Oh, I couldn't tell you what the coating is, but it feels they feel uncoated. They're great.
Yeah, it's a proprietary coating, and it doesn't shred. If it comes off, it flakes off, so it's not like creating an acoustic dampener, which is what all the Gore-Tex crap that they put on the strings does.
Yeah,
like,
I really don't.
That's the biggest load of snake oil I've ever seen. And you can sue me for saying so. I don't care.
What's quantum nickel? What's quantum nickel?
Quantum nickel?
I'm looking at Veritas. They have. That's what it says on it. Veritas. Quantum nickel.
Yeah.
They have the best packaging for strings ever. That is cool as you like.
Well, I've got a set of DDTs too. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones.
I'm going to try them out actually on both of your recommendations, because I have a problem where I don't play guitar enough for me to warrant changing the strings, normal strings, as often as they need to be changed, because I just don't. I only play guitar to test pedals, so that's why I chose the elixirs. But yeah,
so this guitar has had a set of DR strings on it for 15 years. They still hold tune and they still sound great.
Wow.
So I'm a DR dealer.
Get in.
So
yeah, the packaging's amazing. I'm going to give it a go. I've never.
yeah, I mean,
I'd never.
That was the only string company that I like established a dealership with when I was a luthier, was DR, because they were the only ones I could stand behind, and they were the only ones that actually stood behind their product.
Yeah. Well, I always like the NYXLs, but they just don't last long enough for me to warrant.
You're talking about
and it's not,
the Darios.
Yeah, it's not the cost. It's the pain in the arse of changing them.
I've had so many bad experiences with the Dario strings.
Yeah.
Yeah, like brand new strings that, like snapped, right out of the, you put them on and they snap in a place they shouldn't snap, manufacturing defects. There's a reason why they're the cheapest strings, that you can buy.
That's interesting. I've never really dug too much into the strings. I always know that I like nickel over everything else. Like even for acoustic, like I've never been one for the bronze strings. But
I think those Veritas come with like 3 extra high strings that are phosphor bronze.
Yeah. That was the other thing
I've got
I liked
those.
About it.
Yeah, I got those on my semi-hollow. They sound great on that, but I've got the regular ones on the Les Paul, the regular nickel.
So what's the difference in tone? Is it because I always thought that the bronze ones on an acoustic just sound buzzy, like they just had a bit of a buzz to the.
Yeah, they're pretty bright, but it suits the semi-hollow really well. I've just put a brass like an ABM German-made brass bridge on the Les Paul, so that's sounding really bright at the minute. So the phosphor bronze would probably tip that over the edge. The nut needs changing as well, so I have to put like super heavy, like the 10 to 52s on, otherwise the A string pops out.
Yeah, rusty strings do eat frets.
Yeah, that's it. That's interesting because I've never played guitar enough to eat any frets whatsoever. So
what happens is they become like little like saw blade edges on them, and so when you're bending, like you're just like grating away. That's why you should clean your strings every time.
I do actually, to be fair. Some place near Sonar Poop sells Roto Sound strings cheap. Roto Sound are a pretty solid company, I've got to say. But again, they're not coated, so I just go through them so quick. Yeah, I don't know. If nothing else has come from this podcast, it set me on a mission to try out some new strings and gauges.
Oh, hey, just try out everything is the way I think this podcast should go. Is like, it's all a journey about like trying to discover all the different things that are out there and what works for you, what doesn't work. And
also I want to try and emulate what customers would be using when I'm testing pedals, because I find a lot of the time you can send out a pedal that you think is going to be amazing, and there's always someone who go, nah, it's not what I like, and it's probably down to string choice or whatever.
Yeah, so it's like why I had to like bite the bullet and buy the chips, and so I had like something with humbuckers that I could test my pedals through, because I was stuck with single coils and Tysco pickups at the moment. So
John Pardo says Roto Sound make good solid bass strings, although he still buys superly expensive strings instead. Mate, I'm with you. I do this stuff all the time. And there you go, Roto Sound string lasts the longest. Yeah.
I think that's what's on my bass. I think I've got like some really ancient Roto Sounds.
They just don't last for me. Not at all. And do you know what it might be, actually, to be fair? Traveling around on a ship, it's left in like saltwater conditions. Like, you get the sea salt air and stuff, and maybe that just attacks them. That's why the elixirs just... I'd rather have a terrible tone and not have to string up every couple of weeks.
I think DR like before they introduced the Veritas, they were called Dragon Skin. Or do they still make the Dragon Skin too?
Oh yeah, were they the ones that you could get in like red or black coating, or is that?
Oh, you could get like all kinds of crazy coatings. You get neon coatings. You
Yeah.
any color you wanted coatings for a while.
Do you know what? I used to buy these black coated strings when I was like 17. In fact, I was still in basic training in the Navy, and they were like playing strings with sandpaper sprinkled on top. And when the black coating went off, I was like, "Oh, I got to buy new strings." Let's see, Veritas Dragon. There you go. No, I can't see him here in the UK, mate.
Well, I think they may have changed it. I think
Yeah,
Dragon Skin may have become Veritas. I think
Yeah,
like
they
that's
might-
what it used to be, was Dragon Skin, and then they changed it to Veritas.
Yeah,
Is
they
what
changed the coating and then changed the name, I think.
And-
Yeah.
There you go. You can get neon blue acoustic strings. But
Awesome.
apart from that, right. Well, anyway, now that we've dived deep into the string world, let's bring it back to pickups. Is there anything that you want to put out in the world, Jack? Any sort of advertisement that you want to tell people where to go and what to look for your pickups? Because I'm reading the chat, and quite a few people have said that they're looking at trying, especially P90s. I've seen a couple of times. Is there anywhere you'd like to?
Yeah. Okay. So I've got a couple of interesting P90s in the range. Actually, that like I said earlier, I was talking about working on a new set, but the ones that I've got at the minute, I've got the straight down the middle 50s Gibson sounding P90s. I slightly overwind them and get a slightly higher output out of them, because I think in people's heads the Gibson P90 sound is thicker than it is in real life, and I think that's
really?
worked out pretty well. I think so. I think because almost no one gets the chance to play like a 59, 58, 56 Les Paul.
Yeah.
But then when you're listening to it on the recordings, and the recording equipment they used was a lot warmer back in the day. The whole sound is a lot warmer and a lot fuller. When you're playing it, if you're playing it through like a modeling amp, or you're playing it through, like a little 1x10 or something, it's going to sound thinner than you expect. So when I'm doing my evocation set for the humbuckers, my Regia P90 Gibson type set, I tend to err on the side of the slightly overwound, try to squeeze the treble down a bit, make it sound a little bit fuller, because that's the sound that people associate with the Gibson guitars of that era. But that's just they're a straight up and down Alnico 2 P90 set. Then I've got my Nix Alba set, which is similar sort of output, similar sort of vibe, but the neck is an Alnico 3, Alnico 2 blend, which makes it a little more transparent. You get a little more high-end presence. And the bridge is Alnico 3, Alnico 4. When I initially tried it with both Alnico 4s, and I just found it a bit toppy. And then swapping the Alnico 3 in, it made it more transparent and a little bit less harsh in the treble. And then both pickups have one Alnico 3 in, so there's something that sort of, it makes them feel more cohesive as a set. And then
they sound great, by the way. Like, I've never heard of people blending the different strengths, if you like, or whatever.
Well, it like I said, when I was first building pickups, I wasn't flying completely blind, but I was just being creative and just saying, well, what happens if I do this, without fully understanding like what is actually happening. I just heard the end result. And then since obviously getting more experienced, I've managed to tweak it and refine it and make it something that's actually, worth selling to customers. But it just made sense to me that a P90 is powered by 2 magnets. So it's like the first thing you would think to do is, what happens if I just change one of them? Like if an Alnico 2 is too warm, if I just change one out for an Alnico 4 or an Alnico 3 or an Alnico 5, like what effect is it going to have on the tone? Is the Alnico 5 just going to overpower the Alnico 2, or is it going to... So I found that Alnico 3 works well with A2 and A4 to sort of to brighten up the Alnico 2 and to slightly curb the treble of the Alnico 4. Similarly, my super high output, well, not super high, but my I bought the wrong guitar. I call them I bought the wrong guitar pickups. The P90 that sounds more like a humbucker that you can play metal with. It's got Alnico 4 and Alnico 3 in the neck, because I really like Alnico 3s in the neck. it has this really transparent quality that just suits the neck position really well. So you might notice if you look at my specs on my website, a suspicious amount of my pickups have got Alnico 3 necks. And then the Mandela bridge is, it was originally all ceramic, and I just found it too fizzy. And I didn't want to overwind it to a point where it was just too loud compared to the neck. So I swapped out one of the ceramics for an Alnico 4. I was actually looking for an Alnico 5, but I only had an Alnico 4 lying around, and it just sounded so great that I never tried the Alnico 5. So I just stuck with the Alnico 4. So yeah, the P90s are interesting. A lot of them are magnet blends. Yeah.
You're getting some questions in. So Grace Fandango says, will one magnet degauss?
Over time, if there's a massive difference, so if you put like an oversized ceramic with
froze up again.
We're losing the feed. Sorry, mate, we lost it for a second then again.
All right, sorry. They can do if you mix and match too aggressively and put one that's got like a ceramic with loads of gauze. Like for example, when I say the Alnico 4s that I put in the Mandela bridge, I gauze test all of the bar magnets, and I put the Alnico 4s with the highest gauze to one side to use in that pickup, so that they're less likely to degauss.
This is an interesting thought as well. Presume all of the poles are facing in the same direction, so it shouldn't.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's north to north, but there is a bit of it can, like if you were to put a neodymium with an Alnico. Well, first off, you'd never hear the Alnico 2 at all. But if there's a massive mismatch, you're effectively you're running a slight risk of it degaussing somewhat. But the main thing is just that you wouldn't get any character from that lower gauss magnet. You just wouldn't hear it because it'd be getting overpowered by the other one.
This brings me to a point that I think a lot of people, may or may not still talk about, but what a lot of people think of as the vintage sound is a pickup that has degaussed over time. It is aged in. Yeah. So you're thinking of a pickup, that it may have sounded completely different when it was brand new, but because it has like lived this long time, and it may have been put in places that affected it, like might have been leaned up against a speaker cabinet a long time. Who knows?
Yeah, well, that's again, that leads back in. Sorry, so, it just like I was saying about the Gibson.
It's like what you expect it to sound like, rather than
you expect it to sound. If it is degaussed, it'll not be as bright. There'll not be as much of that string pull. It'll be a little bit less defined. Mm-hmm. Originally, when I made my first PAF replica, I deliberately used brass base plates to suck the treble out. Mm-hmm. I found them a nightmare to solder them, and people just think that brass is cheaper and it doesn't look as nice. So I figured a different way to achieve the same effect. But yeah, that's a good point. Vintage pickups won't sound now like they did when they were new.
I'm always searching for more brightness out of a humbucker, like nickel covers instead of brass plated nickel. It seems counterintuitive to me that you want to dial out, but I suppose you're going for what people think the sound should be, so you have to,
Yeah, it's like it. I have much brighter humbuckers in the range than the PAF stuff, and it's like that's why I have two versions of it as well. The Evocation 2 that I marked as being more suitable for a semi-hollow because it's more transparent in the neck and more warm in the bridge. But the Evocation 1 bridge with the Alnico 4 it's still a pretty bright pickup. It's slightly overwound just so that it has more punch. It drives an amp harder, and it gives you a little bit more of that warmth. The neck's super thick, super warm, with it being Alnico 2 and slightly overwound. But yeah, it's still a really bright bridge.
That sounds a lot like the Slash sort of Slash tone. Case Fandango says, so are we saying weaker vintage magnets have less top end?
Sort of. It's one of those complicated science things where it depends on what effect it's having on the inductance to a certain degree. Generally speaking, lower inductance pickups will have more top end. But then if the magnet's weaker and you have less string pull, it will sound thinner, which might it'll give it the appearance of having, or like the sonic appearance of having more top end, because it's got less of everything.
It'll sound glassier.
Yeah, but the actual,
I think that's what Les Paul was actually going for, wasn't it? With his Les Paul signature guitar, you know, the final couple that he did with the low impedance pickups in, with the Gibson embossed on them. I almost bought the gold top version of that, and I should have, because it was not expensive at the time, and I think they're going to be pretty expensive in the future. I think there's only like 80 of them made in Sunburst, and maybe a couple of hundred in gold top. But yeah, they had them weird cream Gibson embossed pickups.
Yeah,
it's all impedance based, isn't it? Which is
I think what I was trying to allude to with the DGOS magnets is to get the presence where they should be, to get them so that when they're sat at roughly the right height, they're not going to sound too thin. You're going to end up with a darker sounding pickup, because you'll have had to add the impedance by either overwinding or using like a thicker wire to the same output.
It's crazy that there's so many levers you can pull on to try and twist and turn it into the position that you want. It's much like a pedal, you know, different capacitors or whatever, or bias or anything like that. You can use to maneuver it into position type thing. So what about? Oh, sorry, John. Go on.
I was going to say, did you ever come across the book Animal Magnetism? I think it was a textbook for a German college course, where the guy like teaches you all about how to design pickups and like all the theories and everything.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, it's one of the old school like pickup builder manuals. I think it was written sometime in like the 80s or 90s. And it's got a pretty iconic cover, because there's like a humbucker that the guy designed, you know, with a wooden bobbin, and it's got a tarantula like crawling on top of it. You know, so it's one of those things. If you can find that book, you know, it would be a good thing to have an analog copy. Yeah, for sure, because he goes deep. I mean, it's an entire college course on pickup designing. So
yeah, it was. That's I should probably check that out.
Yeah, you probably
like
should.
I said, I should
probably find my copy of it.
Because my ethos from like getting started, like I said, was I had no like electrical engineering background. I didn't really fully understand what I was getting myself into, and every pickup I've designed by trial and error, and then listen. I could have definitely done it quicker if when I'd started I knew what I was doing more. But it was all about, how does this sound through that speaker, and then like using what I did understand to tweak what I'd just done until I was happy with the sound. So there's a part of me that like, it's like weirdly pure, that I've designed every pickup only based on what it's going to sound like. I didn't care what the output was going to be, what the inductance was going to be. Like, I'll measure it when it's done and I'm happy with the sound.
That's so good. And I find that's how most of us come to the guitar. However, like even building guitars, I don't think people in the early days studied guitar composition. If they're building an electric guitar, they probably built one, when that doesn't seem right, we'll refine this bit, and then you just refine like ad hoc. I certainly did that with circuits. I was chopping and changing parts. Does that sound good? No, it doesn't. And I've never been one for like making a plan as opposed to just feeling it in, you know. I find you learn it. It's kind of like, we on board of Warship, we had two types of engineers. You'd have the stokers, who's like me, the stupid people, give them a hammer, hit it harder, that sort of thing. Or you'd have like the artificers, who are like super clever, count how many beans are in a tin but can't open it. You know, that sort of like, do you know what I mean? Like they'll do the maths behind, you know, the trigonometry to tell you how fast something's going to be on the horizon or all that. By which time someone from my mess has already shot the thing and we're having beers now. You know, that sort of thing. So I'm much more a hands-on engineer. So like you say, you know, maybe you change the strength of the magnet, maybe you change the thickness of the wire, and every time you're like dialing it in more. And then ultimately, after years of doing that, you understand it intuitively. So if someone says, "Oh, I feel like the pickup doesn't sit well in the mix, it's too, you know, it's too lost in the mix," you'll know exactly what to change to make that sit in the mix the way that they want.
Yeah, which is, and I wouldn't be able to guess like how much inductance that would be adding or taking away and give them like the technical. But I would know what difference it's going to make to the sound and how it's going to work for them. This, like I said, when I first started, I didn't really know what I was doing. I had a super cheap, I had like a Shatton coil winding machine that worked with like a bit of double-sided sticky tape that sometimes would just throw the bobbin off because
we destroyed one of those in the guitar shop that I used to work in. Like that was such a ripoff. That's the reason why I showed you that thing that's in my. I made that to replace the Shatton that cost us like $300. That, like, you know, we got like maybe 3 or 4 pickups rewound with it.
Yeah, it's so I was kind of flying blind. I was in my, I'd only at the time I was charging £40 for a hand wound single coil. So it's like super cheap.
Oh, wow,
I wasn't expecting to get anything. It was crazy cheap. But I had a guy who like really knew what he was talking about. He's like a long time guitar engineer, and he asked me if I could make a single coil with plain enamel 42 gauge wire to 8K. And he wanted a very specific inductance. And at the time, I didn't even have like an LCR tester, so I wasn't even testing the inductance of my pickups. I was just doing it in output. And I tried my best to give him like a really friendly response. It was like, look, I know what kind of sound you're after. I can get you close with this that I offer. And I can't give you the reason I couldn't give him a precise resistance reading is at the time I was working out of a garage that had no heating. And the last time I took the resistance of the pickup that he was inquiring about was 2 months ago, and the season had changed since then. So the resistance, like for people who don't know, if it's really cold, the resistance will go down of a pickup. So it was going to be like a whole K lower than it, and I would have just been guessing. And then, so I gave him this like pretty detailed, but like kind of me saying, like, I don't really know, but I'll give it a go response. And I found that response just like years later. I found it on a blog when I was getting more into the technical side of things. I say it was only like a year or two later that I found it. He'd written a blog about inductance and why it's so important in pickups, and included my entire email response to him about how pickup manufacturers don't know what they're doing. Snake oil salesman.
The internet lives forever.
They're just like, I thought it was a really friendly response. He's done me dirty. But yeah, there's somewhere out there on the internet, there's a genuinely pretty helpful blog post about pickup inductance that includes a response from me. It's just snake oil.
But see, that's the thing. He's using the very pinpoint technical mathematical answers for something that's an art. You can't do that for art. It's not. Yeah,
it's like it. This, like I said earlier, if that's what you want, just get a machine-made pickup. Get a machine-made pickup. They're going to be exactly the same every time.
Yep.
There's not going to be like weird scatter winding, tension changing, ambient temperature affecting. You're going to get the same pickup every single time. If that's what you want, and that's the way.
No, I want to go through a big bin of pickups, plug them all in until I find one that I like. The same pickup, or like Hendrix, go in a shop and try 20 fuzz faces until you find the one. So I want that. That's what. But
that's part of the interaction as well. If you're having it, I hand build every pickup to order. I don't make stock and then just keep it hanging around, because there are that many different cover options and pull piece options and stuff. But I've found that it just doesn't really work. So whenever anybody buys a pickup from me, I am building that pickup for them. So that's their pickup that they're getting. They're not just getting one off the shelf. It's going to be, every pickup's going to be slightly different depending on like how much I scatter wind it, how cold it is in my office.
That's so cool. But that's part of the charm, and that's why people would go to a small builder for their pickups.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to mass produce one, you're picking something like a Lawler or a Seymour Duncan, aren't you? Surely they're great pickups, but they're not made individually one at a time for the person who orders them.
Now Lawlers were. Don't go talking bad about Jason.
I'm really not, mate.
But they were.
I've got several sets, but what I mean is
I've got the ones that were hand signed back in the day, but now it's the thing, like
staple P90s. They're great.
But the thing is, like, you know, you're able to like individually like tune in exactly the tone for the player with somebody. You know, you're able to give them like everything that they want as far as the warmth or the clarity, or, you know, any number of factors that you have control over, and the fact that you can work with them, and then it's their sound.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like the range is there because the pickups all have a job to do. So like, for example, my Obsidian set has got a really niche job. That was a guy came to me who plays occult metal. So it has to have like a really thick 70s classic sounding neck. And then the bridge has to be able to play drop C, crazy metal stuff. And it's like, so it needs to be really bright and really present in the bridge and then really vintage in the neck. But then you've got to somehow get it so that the volumes balance and everything matches. So that's like an example of like, that's the job that pickup set does. But if someone comes to me and says, like, I want that set, here's my rig, I can adjust either the neck or the bridge or both to get it so that pickup set does the job that it's supposed to do specifically for that individual. So it's like, for an example, someone recently ordered a Nick's Alba neck, P90, and my Quintessence jazz pickup bridge. And I know from experience that if I just do it straight as they are designed, that neck pickup is going to be way louder when they're set at a similar height than the bridge. So I'm going to like overwind the bridge. I might even use thicker. I'm still figuring out how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to calibrate the set so that it's a cohesive set. Whereas if I was just picking them off the shelf, he'd get that set of pickups and the bridges sound great and the neck would sound great, but together they just not work.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So how would you go about figuring out what to change? Because it seems like a sea of options that I wouldn't know where to start. I've broke his sound with my amazing question.
Still can't hear you, mate.
I'm going to take credit for that and say that my question was so
Your question was so awesome that it broke the internet.
it seems like infinite options though to adjust, because you've got everything, magnets, wire. We haven't even talked about tension of
back.
line.
I think.
No. All right. Okay. Sorry. I've turned it off and on again. Is it working? Okay. Cool.
It is.
Yeah. So just to answer the question, that caused me tech issues. I already know the P90 is pretty warm and pretty full, and it seems counterintuitive to try and make that thinner. So it's pretty obvious to me that the thing to do is to make the bridge pickup a bit more full and a bit more present so that it matches the neck. So you're getting more from the bridge rather than less from the neck, because the bridge it's a jazz pickup. It's designed for, like you were saying, really thick flat wound strings and arch top, and it's relatively low inductance and sort of medium-ish output. So I'm just going to raise the inductance. I'm going to try and keep the output similar and raise the inductance. So I think I'm just going to go up a half a wire gauge and then very, very slightly overwind it, and I'll end up with something that's got a similar inductance to the neck. It'll match, but it'll keep the ethos of what that bridge pickup's supposed to sound like.
And this is another thing. A very good point is this guy's ordered this pickup set because he thinks it's the sound that he wants or whatever. But technically, you could end up winding that 3 times, and he's only bought one pickup. So that the value that you're getting there is palpable, really.
Yeah. I'm quite lucky now that I've been in it for a few years that I usually get it right first time now. But but especially when I'd only been doing it 18 months or a year, 2 years, it was like it could take 3 or 4 goes before I was happy that those 2 pickups calibrated and everything sounded as it should. Yeah.
It's doing the reps, isn't it? Like the 1,000 hours of doing something to become proficient or whatever it is that they say. I can't believe we've hit the 2-hour mark here, and plus we added a little extra sneaky podcast in beforehand. Which
I know we had the super short version.
So I'm going to have to call it there because I am, as ever, up at 5 o'clock for work. Thank you for everyone in the chat. I'd like to know on this, after this live stream ends, if you're thinking about buying some Alchemy pickups or you do buy a set of Alchemy pickups, please write it in the comments of this video after it's not live, and then it'll stay on there, and we can all keep touch and see how they sound in your actual guitar, because I'm really interested, especially in some of the hybrid magnet type things. Blows my mind, and I'm really considering buying yet another set of pickups that I shouldn't.
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the best things you can do, like to experiment with your sound, besides buying more pedals, is buying different pickups and dropping them in and trying them out. I mean, you know, you can change so much with just your pickups in any instrument.
Yeah.
If you've got a platform that you love playing on, but you don't like the way it sounds, change the pickups.
Yeah, that is it.
What's this space for that? So thank you, everyone. I've been Hello Sailor Joe, and I will catch you next time.
Cheers all.
Thanks.